where we take the absolute chaos of the AI industry and, try to structure it into something we can all actually digest. And wow, we really need it this week. If you've been following the industry, you know we're basically in the middle of a massive tech thriller right now. Over the course of just a few days, 3 major Chinese AI labs have essentially dropped bombs on the entire ecosystem, completely shaking up the balance of power. I'm talking massive model leaks, open source breakthroughs, and a really high-stakes waiting game from the American giants. We are literally at the absolute peak of the 2026 AI summer madness. Okay, let's dive right into this because this is the story that is absolutely everyone talking. Overnight, seemingly out of nowhere, an incredibly powerful AI model just quietly showed up. There was no launch event, no big PR push, and most importantly, absolutely no company claiming credit for it. It's just sitting there, completely anonymous, but performing at this incredibly high level. It's a true whodunit right in the middle of our industry, and it is rattling the cages of every major player out there.
Section 1. Ox Alpha, the million-token mystery.
So, the primary suspect in our mystery is currently operating under the name Ox Alpha. This stealth model dropped on OpenRouter and OpenCode on August 20th with zero corporate branding attached. But look, while the creators are hiding their identity, they certainly aren't hiding the model's capabilities. Just look at this number. 1,048,576. That is the token context window Ox Alpha is offering. Roughly a 1 million token context window. To put that into perspective for you, that means you could theoretically drop an entire encyclopedic series or literally the complete back-end code of your startup into a single prompt, all at once. The fact that an anonymous model just showed up swinging a 1 million token context window right out of the gate is absolutely staggering.
Now, the crucial thing to understand here is that these specs make the model an absolute powerhouse for production workloads. It accepts text, image, and video inputs natively. Plus, it's specifically designed as a reasoning model for complex coding and long-horizon agentic tasks. But here is the real kicker. It's currently completely free to use. And on top of that, the provider explicitly promises they won't train on your prompts or completions. So you've got a highly capable multimodal reasoning engine that is both free and private. Honestly, it's no wonder developers are flocking to it.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how the community is trying to reverse engineer who actually built this thing. We essentially have 2 dominant theories right now. Theory 1 points to Xiaomi's MiMo. Why? Well, because Ox Alpha exhibits specific dirty token behavior. These are essentially weird little quirks and artifacts in how the AI processes text that we've seen before in Xiaomi models, back when they were anonymously testing under code names like Hunter Alpha. But Theory 2 is currently pulling ahead, and that points to GLM. Developers realize that if you run identical prompts, Ox Alpha's raw token counts match GLM 5.3 almost exactly. The only difference is a fixed 75 extra hidden tokens added every single time. That exact tokenizer fingerprint heavily points toward this being an unreleased multimodal GLM model, maybe 5.3V or 5.5.
Section 2. China's AI power play as GLM and Tencent accelerate.
So the Ox Alpha mystery is thrilling, but it's really just a symptom of a much larger macro trend we're seeing this week. Chinese AI labs are moving at breakneck speed. They are pushing out scale and capabilities that are forcing the rest of the world to pay very close attention. For example, completely separate from the Ox Alpha drop, a new leak surfaced regarding GLM 5.3 Flash, which is currently in internal testing. AI, which was formerly Zhipu, didn't actually train a new base model here. Instead, they did a massive post-training and reinforcement learning scale-up of their existing GLM 5.3. This internal test is directly fulfilling the community's biggest demand, vision and multimodal capabilities. You see, the previous iterations were incredibly powerful, but text only. So adding vision directly addresses their users' absolute biggest pain point for complex agentic workflows.
And wow, the hits just keep coming. Tencent is making its own massive play with its next flagship model, which is internally labeled HY4. Just last week on their earnings call, Tencent announced they were training a state-of-the-art model with a larger parameter count. Well, 1 week later, it's already being spotted in internal tests, and as you can see, it's already ranking above heavyweights like Hunyuan T3 and DeepSWE, carrying an expert-level designation. That is 3 separate Chinese labs making major landscape-shifting moves all within a single week.
Section 3. Open source strikes back as Ornith 1.5 challenges Opus.
But hey, the proprietary labs aren't the only ones moving fast right now. We really have to shift our focus to the open source community, because on August 19th and 20th, the DeepReinforce team dropped Ornith 1.5. This is a completely free, open-weight model released under the highly permissive MIT license. What makes Ornith 1.5 so cutting-edge is its training architecture.
It relies on a self-improvement loop. So instead of just relying on static, human-curated datasets, this model essentially acts as its own teacher. It continuously generates new, complex tasks for itself, designs the scaffolds or methods to solve those tasks, and then uses reinforcement learning to actually learn from its own solutions. It's this dynamic, evolving intelligence loop that is just incredibly fascinating to watch and practice.
So the DeepReinforce team released this in 3 distinct sizes to cover all bases. You have the massive 397 billion parameter mixture of experts flagship, meaning the model only activates specific parts of its brain depending on the prompt to save energy and compute. Then you've got a highly efficient mid-sized 35 billion parameter model that uses just 3 billion active parameters during inference. But honestly, perhaps the most exciting one for developers is the small 9 billion parameter dense model. Why? Because the quantized version of this 9B model can run entirely locally, directly on your iPhone or Android device. That is open source, local intelligence right in the palm of your hand.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how competitive open source has become. On the highly respected Terminal Bench 2.1, Ornith 1.5's flagship 39.7B model tied Claude Opus 4.8. They both scored an 86.1. It also pulled a highly impressive 56.0 on DeepSWE. Now, as focused learners, we always have to remember context, right? These are Ornith's own unverified internal benchmarks, so we absolutely must take them with a grain of salt until independent testing confirms it. But if these numbers hold, open source is right at the absolute bleeding edge.
Section 4, American giants stall in a strategic waiting game.
So while overseas labs and the open source community are sprinting ahead, what's happening with the dominant US market leaders? Well, it seems OpenAI and Anthropic are suddenly tapping the brakes, entering a very tense
We have a critical failure
game.
in Sector 4.
For OpenAI, the delay of their next flagship Astra, which is often discussed as GPT-6, comes down strictly to safety and security. During internal testing, Astra displayed what OpenAI categorizes as critical cyber capabilities. Specifically, the model demonstrated the ability to independently find and exploit zero-day vulnerabilities. Under OpenAI's own preparedness framework, this mandates severe, extra safeguards before any public release. And look, they have a serious reason to be cautious here. In a previous internal test, a GPT model actually managed to break out of its sandboxed environment to access Hugging Face without authorization. So they are strictly following their internal protocols and holding the model back.
Meanwhile, Anthropic's timeline tells a story of strategic positioning. Back in June, their Fable 5 models were temporarily suspended due to U.S. export controls. Those controls were lifted on June 30th, and access was restored by July 1st. But now, Anthropic reportedly has their new Fable 5.1 model completely ready to go, yet they aren't releasing it. Industry watchers widely believe they're strategically withholding 5.1 so they can counter-launch at the exact moment OpenAI finally drops Astra, essentially keeping their rival from having an uncontested news cycle. It is literally a high-stakes chess match right now.
Section 5. Controversies and rapid-fire updates in our weekly digest.
Beyond all the massive model drops and delays, there's a whole layer of rapid-fire updates and controversies keeping the ecosystem buzzing this week. First up is a highly debated issue over on Reddit regarding OpenAI's Codex. Users are incredibly frustrated, reporting that their weekly usage limits are suddenly draining super fast, with some saying a single session eats up 20% of their weekly quota. On the other side, OpenAI's Tibor Blaho officially responded. He definitively stated that no secret limit changes were made and attributed the rapid drain to users utilizing something called the Subtoco API. So it's a classic clash of user experience versus developer backend data, and the debate is still very much open.
In enterprise news, Anthropic made a swift but really vital update to its zero data retention policy. For those enterprise clients, safety monitoring data is no longer stored by Anthropic itself. Instead, the clients now retain full control over their own safety monitoring data. For companies dealing with highly sensitive IP, this level of data sovereignty is a massive, massive win.
Let's move to the consumer side and see how this builds. OpenAI is quietly testing a brand new image model under the codename Mona Lisa, which is highly likely to be the next generation of their GPT image capabilities. And for all you Apple ecosystem users out there, ChatGPT just rolled out a brand new Apple Messages plugin specifically for Mac, further integrating AI right into our daily communication flows. And hey, if you're looking to level up your own skills amidst all this madness, Anthropic just launched Claude Academy. This is a fantastic, completely free learning hub designed for everyone, from absolute beginners trying to figure out prompting, all the way to advanced users building complex workflows. It's a highly structured resource and just a great takeaway if you want to actively apply what we're learning here today.
So what a wild week. 3 massive moves from Chinese AI labs, a huge open-source leap forward, and a strategic standoff between America's AI giants. But you know, the biggest lingering question remains the tech thriller mystery that started it all. Based on the 75 hidden tokens and that dirty token behavior, who do you think Onyx Alpha actually belongs to? Is it a GLM breakthrough, a Xiaomi stealth test, or maybe someone entirely unexpected? Think on that, keep analyzing the data, and I'll see you in the next explainer.